there's a hunger in this country to tackle inequality. Americans want a fair shot, a level playing field. President Obama called it the defining challenge of our time. Now it's shaping the 2016 election. You can see it in the surging campaign for Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. He's drawing huge crowds. A record 5,000 people in Denver last month. A record 10,000 in Madison, Wisconsin last week. A record 2,500 in Iowa 2 days later. The biggest Iowa rally this cycle. And tonight his rally in Maine had to be moved to a bigger venue to accommodate the crowd. He's driving the progressive economic message.
To make sure that every public college and public university in America are tuition free. Mr. President, I will fight for 12 weeks of paid family leave. Now is the time for a federal jobs program to create millions of decent paying jobs. We've got to tell this top 0.1% they cannot have it all. This government, this country belongs to all of us and not just to the billionaire class.
That message is resonating and putting pressure on Hillary Clinton. Late today, the New York Times reporting the Clinton campaign is, quote, wary of Sanders' strength in Iowa. And a Clinton advisor today saying the team is, quote, worried about the Sanders campaign. Now Clinton is fighting to make the case that she's the progressive champion.
I will fight against inequality. I have a long history of doing that. I take a backseat to no one when you look at my record and standing up and fighting for progressive values.
It's at the center of the 2016 battle, and increasingly, so is Senator Bernie Sanders. Joining me now from Portland, Maine, ahead of his jam-packed rally tonight, is Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator, first, thank you so much for your time tonight.
My pleasure, Al.
Are you surprised by the record turnouts for your events? I mean, has this caught even you off guard?
Between you and me, yes, I am a little bit surprised. You know, I knew we were going to do well, but the momentum is moving so quickly. The fact that we're going to have over 5,000 people out tonight in Portland, Maine, the fact that we have 250,000 people who made individual Secretary Clinton's.
And even the Republicans are talking about these issues. Let me raise this. The New York Times called you a virtual unknown among black voters. But I know about your involvement in civil rights causes. You were there in the March on Washington in '63. You've been arrested on civil rights causes. You spoke just 2 or 3 months ago at our National Action Network convention here in New York and dealt forthright with these issues. And I understand you are going into a real outreach to bring that record forward around among African-American voters because you do have a track record there.
Al, I've been involved in the civil rights movement for my entire adult life, and as you've indicated, I was arrested way back when in fighting school segregation in Chicago, worked with our friends in the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee trying to end segregation in the South, worked against segregated housing at the school that I went to, the University of Chicago, marched with Martin Luther King Jr. In Washington, D.C. But here is the point. It's not only that I have a strong record on civil rights, the economic positions that we are advocating, in fact, mean more to the African-American community, to the Hispanic community, than they do even to the white community. And this is the reason why. When you look at unemployment in America, you're looking at youth unemployment for young African-American kids at over 50%. When you're looking at the ability to go to college, it is harder today for African-American families to send their kids to college. And that's why we have fought for, they're going to implement a program which calls for public colleges and universities to be tuition free. John Conyers and I, John is from Michigan, and I worked on legislation to put $5.5 billion into youth employment programs so our kids get the education and the training they need to be creative and significant members of our society rather than ending up in jail or doing drugs on street corners. So I think it is not only my record on civil rights, but the economic agenda that we're talking about is going to make sense, I think, to the African American community, the Hispanic community, and virtually the entire country.
Let me bring this up. You called Hillary Clinton, quote, the establishment candidate. Now, Elizabeth Warren has not ruled out endorsing you last week, and neither has Bill de Blasio. And I think those are the two leading high-profile progressives in the country. What would it, and I remember you and Bill de Blasio sat together at our National Action Network convention. What would it mean to you to get one or two of their endorsements? Are their endorsements important to you?
They sure are. Look, I think Bill de Blasio is playing a great role in New York City, talking all of the time about a nation in which we have so many people living in poverty while people on the top are doing phenomenally well. Elizabeth Warren is my colleague in the Senate. She has been a breath of fresh air in the Senate, being just a stalwart fighter, taking on Wall Street, taking on the money issues. Of course, I would welcome either or both of these fine people with their support.
Well, Senator, I know you have another big night, and I appreciate you taking time to talk to us live. Senator and presidential candidate Bernie Sanders, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you all.
Joining me now is political strategist Angela Rye. Angela, your take on Bernie Sanders' campaign surge?
Well, Rev, he's certainly riding a huge wave, but what I would liken it to, quite frankly, is the honeymoon stage of any relationship. Folks are riding high right now because even though Bernie Sanders is absolutely not a new name in politics, he is new to this particular space, and I think folks are excited about the fact that he's unfiltered. He's certainly not raw like Donald Trump, but he's unfiltered and telling it exactly like he sees it, and I think that's an important voice to have at this particular point in a Democratic primary process. I think that he's certainly going to continue to hold Hillary Clinton's feet to the fire, but I want to hear a whole lot more from Bernie Sanders. I want to hear about his campaign team. I know when Hillary Clinton was rolling out her campaign team, it is very, very clear that Hillary Clinton's campaign team reflects the face of America. Where are the diverse folks that are running Senator Sanders' campaign? I'm not saying they don't exist, but I haven't heard anything about them. So there are a whole lot more questions, and I think as we near the end of this honeymoon stage, there will be a whole lot more questions for Bernie Sanders.
In terms of diversity of campaign staffs and history, I mean, the Mignon Moores, the others that have been there for a long time, and the younger people now, Hillary's there. But on these issues, what is resonating with these crowds coming out and the polls narrowing? Income inequality, progressive ideas, and as he just said, that disproportionately affects diverse audiences. How do we hear Mrs. Clinton deal with that? I mean, and how do you deal with, Angela, the fact that the Times says this afternoon that the Clintons are wary of his strength in Iowa? Quote, I think we underestimated that Sanders would quickly attract so many Democrats in Iowa who weren't likely to support Hillary, said one Clinton advisor. Could Bernie Sanders actually win Iowa?
He could win Iowa, Rev, and I think the important thing for us to remember is that in Iowa, John Edwards also beat Hillary Clinton. So there are a lot of things that can happen in Iowa, and frankly, for him, probably should happen in New Hampshire. He has the New England advantage there as well. And of course, you know that he has the polling advantage right now. But again, it's very, very early. We are several months out from a primary process, and we do need to continue to hear from the candidates on the issues. Right now, I'm not really seeing a ton of difference in between what they're saying. It is the Democratic process. So at this point, we need to wait to see what they can say and how quickly they can pivot when they get to a general.
All right, well, we'll be closely watching this one. Angela Rye, thank you for your time tonight.
Thanks, Fred.
Straight ahead, President Obama on the verge of another historic move. This one on criminal justice reform. And later, champions. The U.S. women bring home the World Cup and bring